Aloha ukulele class. This is lesson 15. This is the final lesson of the Ukulele 1 course. So today we're going to learn a few new things that you can work on sort of beyond the class. So after the class is finished, this will give you further content to continue your studies. One of the primary goals of the course is that you develop some skills, literacy with music that helps you to be able to study music independently on your own. So we're going to do a couple strumming things and a couple other fingerstyle things today. But first, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a bit of a review. So because as we progress from the more basic things to the more sophisticated concepts, and developing what we learned on before and building on what we learned before, it can be easy sometimes at this point to forget some of the more basic things, which we definitely don't want to do that. So number one is always tune it. Okay, so get your clip-on tuner or your phone or whatever you're using. And you always want to start out as perfectly in tune as you possibly can, and then tune it between songs and keep tuning it. Okay, you don't want to let your ukulele go out of tune. And if your ukulele is not sounding so great, a good thing to do is to change the strings. Okay, especially if you can't remember when or if ever the strings have been changed on it, especially then. Okay, so next thing is about how to hold it. That's the first thing that we did back at lesson 1, how to hold the ukulele. Okay, it sits on your leg like this. You can use a footstool to elevate that. Okay, you want it on the highest part of your leg, and you don't want it slipping this way or that way. Okay, it goes up here and you hold it up. All right, that's one of the hard things about the ukulele, is that you have to hold it up. It doesn't balance on your leg here like the guitar does. It's too low, so it has to go up here. 45-degree angle. This is too close to your face. This is too close to your leg, and it's up here. This puts your left hand in a good position. Don't lean on anything or set your ukulele up on something and play it. Just hold it like that. Okay, is the best way to do it. Then the right hand goes here. Okay, either that or your bicep butts up against the back of it. So if your bicep is butting up against the back of it and you're only reaching this far, then that's okay. Everyone has a different length arm, different size hand. But if you can reach all the way over to here, then that's good. And if your ukulele is one of the smaller ones, then if you're holding this here, then there might be a space between the ukulele and your arm, and that's okay as long as you're reaching all the way over to here. Okay, the left hand holds it this way. Okay, a big problem with a lot of students is like that they bend their wrist and palm the neck like this. That's bad. You always want to leave a space here, and then when you play chords, you see I'm not holding it with my right hand. You can't always hold it up with your right hand. When you're strumming and you're doing finger style, you're holding it with your left hand. Okay, and that's the way to do it, is to always feel the weight of the ukulele pressing down on your hand right there, so that when you play your scales or your chords, always balanced there, and it's not moving around on you when you're trying to play it. Okay, so that's that. How to hold it in a nutshell. Okay, and things not to do: palming the neck. Okay, always leave a space. Playing it down here where there's a big space between your hand. And of course, like, if you're holding a chord and then when you're strumming it and then you switch to another chord, the uke is gonna move, and you're always kind of like catching it, and it's like moving around on you, and that's not good. It has to be stable. All right, all of these things fall under the category of technique. And technique is a thing that you should establish right now, because as you develop habits, they become hard to break. And we want to try and ensure that as you speed these things up, the things that we learned this semester, as you continue practicing them and speeding them up, that everything is smooth and comfortable, and you can play your instrument and feel comfortable and move from chord to chord smoothly, and the chords sound good and everything sounds good, and you're producing a good tone. Okay, so balance it there. Leave your thumb up here, whether you're playing the scales, okay, or the chords. Your thumb wants to be up here because it's about the grip and arching your fingers. Nice arch to your fingers. Try not to let your fingers wobble. Beginners often have these wobbly fingers, and it's a thing that we want to control more and more over time. Okay. The only exception to this thumb thing is when you play a bar chord. Sometimes you'll see that thumb kind of dropping back, right? But it's kind of, when you go to a bar chord, you're kind of rotating your hand around the ukulele. Okay. And you want that to move as little as possible, but you have to get into the position. And sometimes your instrument's going to move a little bit, but we want to limit that as much as possible so it's stable. All right, so that's the left hand position. Later, sort of towards the middle of the course, we learned a couple of bar techniques. First, the full bar, which is where the finger is all the way straight. Okay, students probably at this point in the course, some of them will have like starting to get, if they've followed the technique advice and guidance, and they're trying to play it with a straight bar and they've worked on it a bit, they're starting to get a bar chord that sounds pretty good. Okay, but some others are probably still kind of struggling with this, and that's okay. But what you want is to remember the technique, which is a completely straight bar finger. And then for the half bar, the finger bends in half and then straightens out, kind of like that, you see. All right, so we're bending in half and then straightening. So here's our B flat, B, C. That's one of the benefits of the bar chord, or any chord where you're holding down all four strings and not playing any open strings, as you can move it. For example, F sharp 7, if you move it, G, G sharp, and so on. A sharp, or D7, you can move it, D flat 7, D7, D sharp 7, E7, and so on. And there's a lot of different kinds of these bar chords, but those two techniques pretty much are comprehensive techniques. So if for the full bar it's completely straight, and for the half bar it's bent in half and straight, and that works for whether you have like 2 strings to press down, but also like 3 strings for some of the chords. For those, you have to decide whether you want to play the half bar or the full bar. Okay, you have the option, but it's one or the other. Okay, so the barring technique. All right, strumming. Okay, now we're gonna start the lesson with a bit of strumming, and then we're gonna do some scale and improv stuff, and then we'll end with some finger style stuff. I think that's good, okay? Because one of the most basic things that you can do is just strum chords, okay? And you know, as the semester goes on and I watch students performing, you know, a lot of them kind of forget this, all right? So here, let me show you a few things that I see that you shouldn't do, okay? Hold your finger with your thumb, okay? I call this holding the imaginary pick because especially like if people have played guitar like with a pick, and then they wanna kind of hold on to their finger with their thumb, okay? No, separate that, okay? Okay, so that's one thing you don't want to do is touching your thumb and your index finger together, whether it's like this or like this or like this, okay? For one thing, we want the finger to move as we strum, you see? And if you're holding onto it, it's not moving, okay? Second thing not to do, okay? Holding your finger and strumming with the side of your finger or with the tip of your finger, okay? That's not what we want, all right? Or just holding it like in one position and moving your hand and strumming and your finger not moving, okay? So here's what you should do, all right, is, or also like strumming with multiple fingers, you know? Like I see some people, it looks like they're strumming with all 4 fingers, okay? That's way too much work for your hand. So here's the proper technique. Relax, okay? And then your finger flicks across the string like so, okay? Not over here over the sound hole, but on a ukulele we play in front of the sound hole. If you're out here over the neck, then you've gone too far, all right? It's between the hole and the end of the ukulele body, right? Right there is a good place. That way I can hold on to it, makes it nice and stable. All right. We've talked a lot about chords, all right? Don't palm the neck, don't play them down here, okay? Nice arch to the fingers. Try not to let them like collapse like that or wobble around. Nice arched fingers, okay? Especially on this chord G, all right? And then strumming, flick the finger across the string and recoil it when you come up. So on this one, we want the fingernail hitting the string, right? You'll probably notice if you hit your follicle, your nail follicle against the string a lot, it'll hurt, become irritated. So the fingernail is a good thing to hit it with because you're not going to hurt it, and it makes that sound that we want. Figure out what the technique is for switching from chord to chord, okay? So the main technique we know is the open strings. We insert the open strings in between the chords, and that works on Brown Eyed Girl, Knocking on Heaven's Door, Hotel California. Let's see. Normally, until you draw people's attention to that's what's happening, they don't even hear it. People don't even notice that you're playing a open string in between the chords. And in the open position, most all of those keys that we're playing in, the open strings are not going to sound like wrong notes. They're usually going to sound like correct notes, most of them, okay? There's another technique, which is where we do either tapping or X. So you get like Stand By Me. that gives you a space, or something like Drop Baby Drop, which is actually, so most of the time, I'd say like 95% of the time there, I'm switching by going right. I'm putting X's in between those chords, and that's another good way to switch. All right. In the previous lesson video, we talked about the chukka strumming. All right. And that's a good thing to do it. And what I was doing just there was, since I'm playing some bar chords, I'm just using my left hand to mute it, right? So you just hold it. You don't have to do chukka strumming. Okay, so X, whether it's the right hand chukka strum or the left hand chukka strum or the tap, can be used as a transition technique to go from chord to chord as well. All right, so we've been doing this backing track, right, with the scales. Okay, it sounds like this.
Battery 100%. Connected to COMPUTON and Landon's iPhone.
Okay. Just had to connect it. And then I'm going to disconnect this.
Landon's iPhone disconnected.
Okay. And we use this to practice our scales. Quarter notes and eighth notes. All right, so another thing that we can do is we can learn to play that chord progression, and that's here. I'm going to share this with you. All right, and there's a number of different ways to play these chords. All right. So for example, C, we can play like this, or like this, which is like B flat, and we move it up to B and to C, okay? Or we can play it like this, E3, A7, or like this, E8, A7, or we can play it like a G chord. There's a few different ways to do that. C major 7, like this, or like this. F major 7, the easiest way to do that is the way it's shown there, which is just like A minor, which is sort of like an F major 7 without an F. That's the easy way to do it. Here's another way to do it. Or up here, or like this. Okay. I'm not going to go into all the different ways to do that. There are resources that you can use. There's an app called Basic Chords, BASICHORDS, that you can use to look up sort of multiple versions of chords. That one's okay. It's not always super accurate, but as are lots of chord things. But you can study chords online. That's one of the sort of the secrets. One of the things that we'll do more of if you take the Ukulele 2 course. which we're offering now, is we'll talk about, the 5 positions of each chord, just like the scale has 5 positions, the chord also has 5 positions. For example, C, position 1, position 2, position 3, position 4, and position 5. So that's one thing that we talk about, are the different ways that you can play each chord, which there are multiple. Okay, so here we have sort of the Aloha Oi strum pattern, which is the Brown-Eyed Girl strum pattern minus the second strum. Okay, it goes like this: fake up. That's a good C major 7. You can also play it like this. It's kind of like the opposite of A minor. But I like this. I like that one. Okay. Okay, so one thing, another secret, these aren't really secrets, it's just I'm being funny. What I mean by that is a thing that I haven't really told you in the course, which is that, first of all, there's different ways to play each chord. The other thing is that it's not really that cool to just play the same strum pattern again and again and again. It is a good way to learn, because that lets you get the repetition, and with the repetition comes the mastery, the activation of the muscle memory. But we've done a few different tunes, and with each tune we've tried to learn a different strum pattern. So now what I'd like you to do with this one, since it's quite simple actually, C, C major 7, F, F major 7. And the reason why that if you look at the tabs, you'll notice that there aren't any notes in any of those chords that are not in the C major scale, and that's why you can play any of the modes of C major with the backing track, and it's correct because that's how the key works, right? All the notes in the scale and all the notes in the chords match up, and there's no conflicting notes that would conflict or sound incorrect. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to mix together some of the strum patterns. All right, so 2 of the main strum patterns that work in this situation are the Knockin' on Heaven's Door strum pattern and the Brown-Eyed Girl strum pattern. So the good thing to do at first is to just alternate between the 2. All right, so we're gonna do Brown-Eyed Girl followed by Knockin' on Heaven's Door, which is like this. With me. Remember the basic strumming technique, which is flick that finger across the string. Don't touch it with your thumb. Don't strum with the tip of your finger. Don't strum with the side of your finger. Don't hold your finger in one position and strum. Okay? Move your finger. Flick it across the string with the fingernail and then recoil it. Okay? While you're doing that, you try and stay relaxed. You see, it flows when you're relaxed and you're comfortable. It flows, and that helps you to play music that flows and is smooth and sounds relaxed. Okay, so let's do the other way. Let's do Knockin' on Heaven's Door and followed by Brown-Eyed Girl. Okay, there you go. Threw in that other F major 7. This is probably the easier one to explain, which is bar 5 and then A7, You can hold A7 with your ring finger or your pinky. I guess the ring finger helps you to straighten the bar a little better. Yeah, that's a nice F major 7 if you want to try to throw that in there. Okay, it's always good to have different versions of the chords, or you can try maybe this C. So what I was doing there is I was randomly mixing together Brown Eyed Girl, Knocking on Heaven's Door, and Aloha Oi, which the Aloha Oi strum, as we talked about, is just the modified Brown Eyed Girl strum, okay? And you can create another strum pattern just by either adding or removing strums from your strum pattern, okay? And so that's how you start to get something that sounds like you're making it up as you go along, even though really what I'm doing is just mixing together a few patterns that I know. All right, kind of like the way a drummer would play a drum beat. It's not you know, if you're a beginner drummer, then maybe you just learn this one pattern and you stick to that for the whole song. But you know, the advanced drummers, they sort of make it up as they go along, right? So they're improvising the drum beat based on different patterns that they know, different licks and things, because, you know, it's just not interesting to them to just play the same thing again and again and again for a whole entire song, okay? So, you know, just like first we learn, but we quickly tire of that, so we add, you know, oh yeah, nice, even better. Okay, I can sort of, you know, decorate that even more and make it even more interesting, okay? So that's what we're going for, sort of beyond the course, but also, you know, into the if you're going to continue and do the Ukulele 2 course, these are the kinds of things that we would do more and more of, is, you know, variation of the strum pattern, multiple ways to do voicings of each chord. We call them voicings because it comes from sort of the chorus, like how composers arrange songs for the chorus, and we call that a voicing, you know, an arrangement of notes. This voicing or that voicing comes from sort of the choral tradition. Okay, so that's strumming. Now, this is good because we've been doing a backing track, right? But what's better than a backing track is two people playing music together, okay? So this gives you something fun to do, right? So you can get together with, you know, some other person who's studying ukulele, or with your fellow classmates is good. Unfortunately, you know, doing it online doesn't really work because of the latency issues, so you can't play with other musicians yet really online, so you have to meet up in person, okay? So it has some social, there's some social things about this, playing music with other people, right? And then one person can play the backing chords here, and you guys can take turns like improvising. That's fun, okay? And you know, that's like lots of music has improvisation, right? Rock music, there's guitar solos going on, there's one person's playing the chord, the other person's soloing, of course jazz, but also blues, R&B, gospel music, and even like if you're just playing a melody or something, you can make the melody, you can ornament or decorate the melody, instead of. Well, you see, I decorated it a little bit without trying, just vibrato. That's also a way of making the music more and more interesting, and that's what it's all about, is putting your personal stamp, your artistic signature on the song, okay, by not just memorizing it but taking it to that next level. That's why we need to know scales and about improvising, because that's otherwise all we're doing is memorizing things, which there's a lot to be said for that. That's a good way to learn. The more music you have memorized, the more material and what we call vocabulary, the more patterns the better off you're going to be. But at a certain point, you don't want to just play the music the way that it's shown on the paper. You want to go beyond that and be expressive and creative, and this is an art, you see, right? So that's why. All right, so very simple, okay, in a way, but it's a step forward from what we've been doing, which mixing the different strum patterns together that I mean, you could even put the Stand By Me thing in there. Strum, yeah. Have You Ever Seen the Rain? That's another strum pattern we did. I'm adding another chukka strum. So there's a lot you can do. If you have 6 different ways of doing something, and then you think of like how many different ways can you combine that together, well, it's a really big number, so that's what I would do, and this is a good one, like I said, because the chords are kind of simple. All right, all of these chords are either 1-finger or 2-finger chords, and you can focus on the rhythm and making up the rhythm and improvising accompaniment rhythm figures, okay? All right. So that is the strumming part. Next, let's do the improv stuff, okay? And like I said, if you get together with like 1 or 2 other people, you can take turns improvising over the chord progression, and it can be fun. What else are you gonna do? All right. So, the simplest thing that we can do with this backing track right now is play quarter notes, ascending and descending. Okay, we've done that, so I'm not going to do that again. 8th notes would be the next thing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. can slow that down. All right. The idea is that you're playing 2 notes for every beat instead of 1 note for every beat. You can slow that down to make that happen, to make that easier for you. You can't ever really go faster than you're able to, so that's why you use the playback speed function on these things to find the right speed, whether you're using the backing track or the metronome or whatever. Okay. What you can do with that exercise is you can alternate the direction. So instead of going all the way up ascending and then all the way down descending, you can go up the first scale and then you can go down the second scale and up the third scale and down the fourth scale and up the fifth scale and down the sixth scale, up the seventh, down the eighth, up the seventh, down the sixth, up the fifth, down the fourth, up the third, down the second, up the last one. You can also go back down it if you like to finish it. Okay, with 8th notes, it sounds like this. 3 and 4 and. Now, I wouldn't expect every student who's taking this course to be able to play at that speed right now. I'm just kind of demonstrating some, bigger picture type stuff. Okay, but you'd be surprised, if you have these scales memorized, which you should, and you've done the exercise and you're using the right fingering for each scale and practicing that on a daily basis, you'd be surprised at how little time it takes to kind of work your way up to that kind of speed. All right, how fast and smooth you can execute that is a really good indicator of your level. So if you can't do it, that means that you're at a lower level, and if you can, it means that you're kind of like at a higher level with your technique and your music development and all of that, and that you can understand the different rhythmic subdivisions of the beat. Okay, so like 1 per beat is quarter notes, and then we divide the beat. So when we do 8th notes, we're dividing the beat in half, so 2 per beat. When we do 8th note triplets, that's 3 per beat. 16th notes, 4 per beat, and so on and so forth. So you learn how to divide the beat, and that teaches you how to play in sync with a beat, and how to divide the beat, and how to control the rhythms, and etc., etc. Okay, so you can alternate the pattern. All right, so far we've just done this with the thumb, but we're doing finger style now, which you can develop some of your finger style technique by doing some different things with the scales. Okay, so first thing is you can alternate between your thumb and your finger. All right, like this: thumb, index finger. So the thumb comes down, index finger comes up, thumb comes down, index finger up. Okay, so now we're talking about finger style stuff. All right, never cross your thumb under your finger. Okay, this has to do with the angle, right? Like I've seen a lot of students, like they're playing kind of this angle, right? That's no good, because the thumb is back here and the fingers are like plucking the string, but like this way, and your hand is moving too much. That's why you get in like the regular position, and then you just kind of move your fingers back, and that way you're pulling up on the string, and your thumb is staying out here like this. Okay, and it always stays up on top. They can touch or be very, very close, but never crossing the thumb underneath the finger. like that, and that helps to make sure also that you're doing this at the right angle. Okay, so okay, now this is going to do another thing, because when you're playing with your thumb, you're used to like holding on to your ukulele, and you might not be like balancing it well as you move up through the scale positions, but you kind of have to when you're doing this. And your hand position has to be solid, okay, and holding and balancing the ukulele. All right, so that's called alternate picking or cross picking, okay, and it's a good thing to practice. That helps you develop the strength of your right hand, strength and accuracy of your right hand picking fingers. Okay, the next one is you do index finger, middle finger, like this, and they're both coming up. So always lead with the index finger. Again, don't do this over the fingerboard. You want it just off the fingerboard. You want it very close to the fingerboard, but not over the top of it. Okay? So you go index, middle, index, middle, index, middle. And you should be starting every time with your index finger, because each scale has 8 notes. Each of the modes that are on that diagram each have 8 notes, so it's an even number of notes. Okay, and you can do the ascending and then descending, or you can do the alternating. Etc. etc. Okay, so that's good if you like the finger style, and that I have to tell you, that's a really popular thing for people to study on both ukulele and guitar, is playing finger style. Then doing the scale exercise, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, as they say. So, and if you're doing that with a backing track, you're doing a rhythmic exercise, a fingerstyle exercise, and a scale exercise. You're training your ear. You're doing a lot of different things, okay? And it's a really good thing. I mean, I tell students sometimes, if you don't have time to do anything else on 1 week, then to practice scales, then I think you've spent, it's time well spent. You know, you did a good job. You practiced scales for a week, and why not? Because it's developing all of these abilities and things that you need to physically play the instrument. Okay. All right. So, and then of course the improv. All right. So we talked about random quarter notes. I think we talked about random eighth notes. That would be kind of the next thing. When you do that, you don't have to play every single note on the whole fingerboard. You can focus on maybe going back and forth between 2 or 3 different positions. You know, each position on the ukulele is like, it doesn't have a very big range. So, you know, like... So you might need that just to kind of get enough of the notes that you want to play, the lower versus the higher notes. But you don't need, you know, you might not, playing up here on the 12th fret may not be, you know, like a good place to be doing improv. All right, but these are important scale patterns that we need to know. Especially the last one is the movable major scale. So if you went and searched for like D major backing track, then you know you can move this scale down to D, C, D, D, and play D major, and then that would work in that key. All right. So random quarter notes, eighth notes mixed together, and then also adding articulation to the notes. Okay. So different kinds of articulations include vibrato. So you have to bend, move the string back and forth. Okay. Hammer on, pull off. Okay. If you want your pull-offs to sound good, then pull slightly down on the string like that. Kind of like you're plucking the string almost. And you don't have to worry too much about hitting that string underneath, because usually it's going to be muted. And you can slur different notes together. Trill is a fast hammer-on pull-off. Okay, slide. All right, and also there's like the short accent. So when we vary kind of the length of the accent and the place of the accent, that also adds, you know, it dramatizes your solo. Okay, no one wants to hear a solo where there's no articulation of the notes. Just like no one wants to hear someone talk in a monotone voice. You vary the accent and just to kind of make it more easy to listen to. Okay, so here's a good example of a solo that has quarter notes, eighth notes, and articulation. I'm going to try to stick to those rhythms. So. Kind of hard for me to stick to just that rhythm because I'm used to playing more. With more variety, okay? And of course, as you master the different subdivisions and articulation techniques and you keep going with this, then you'll get better at it over time. And this is one of the things I've been doing for a long time. And I went to school and I got a master's degree in jazz studies, so which improvisation is a big part of that. One of the most difficult parts. Okay, so now that I've played on my ukulele for about almost an hour, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make sure it's still in tune. Alright. So, just a couple more things and then we'll wrap it for the semester. So that's what you can do with the backing track. Also, you can play the chords, and you might have noticed I was working in some of the chords into my solo as well. So that's another thing you can do with a solo is you can pick two notes, I played maybe one note out of place there. So you can do any two notes together that are in the scale, or three notes, whatever you like. So that's another thing you can work into your improv. And then the chords, you can play that. Okay, so you can do strumming all day long with that as well from this, which I'm going to share with you today. Okay. If you're just watching the video, you know, you might not be able to see every single thing, but if you're in the class, you have the study materials. So, you know, first thing you should do probably before you take this lesson video is just print all that out so you have it right there. You can pause the video when you need to and practice and then continue on. All right, so let's see here. Yeah. Need to move that, sorry. Okay. Here's another strumming thing that we can do. All right, we're done with that one. And then here's a song. It's called Hey Soul Sister. All right, by Train. And we like this song because there's an actual ukulele in the song. I believe that the guy is playing a baritone ukulele, which is tuned like a guitar, which is D, G, B, E. And a lot of guitar players, like, if they want that ukulele sound, but they don't want to make that adjustment to another tuning, they use the baritone ukulele, and it's tuned as the higher four strings of the guitar, so that works. But this is for you know, regular tuned ukulele, G, C, E, A. Okay. It only has 4 chords, but the chords are kind of difficult. All right, so if you practice this one, you can get really strong with your chords that you might find to be kind of difficult. So we got E. All right. All right, here's a good way to get to E. You play your D chord with the fingering that I showed you, that I've been showing you all semester, and then you move it up 2 frets and add the index finger to the A2 note, and you got E. All right, that's a really good way to do it. There is another way to do it, which is to press down. This is a more advanced technique. Okay, if you can pull that off, then be my guest. But it doesn't make it easier. If you master that technique, it can be a chord that you can kind of grab. You see, it's one that you can grab quickly. All right, but this works pretty good as well. So, in a previous lesson, we did Over the Rainbow, the Hawaiian version with is. Okay, for let's see, the one everyone knows. that one has the chukka strumming. This one doesn't. Okay, but it has the accents, and the strum pattern is more symmetrical, and it has the same accents, basically in the same place, right? Which is every and. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. You can look all these chords up in your chord chart. They'll be in there. So pause the video and look up the chords. E, B is just like B flat. You just move it up one. And then C sharp minor is like B minor, which we did in Hotel California, except you move it up 2 frets. So you get B minor, C minor, C sharp minor. A, E, B, C sharp minor, A. Alright, so if you're playing the ukulele, you definitely want to play songs that have a ukulele in the song. Okay? That helps. And that pattern goes on for a long time. Okay? So, one more time on E. I'll zoom in, and you see these are the dynamic accents. Okay? And that just simply means that you play it harder than the other ones. Alright? You hit it harder. And in order to do that, you have to not start out the first one hitting it hard. So you make the first one like a little softer. So you can add that little oomph there. So soft, loud. So you can get the contrast without really having to hit it so hard. You know, for a while we've been sort of trying to master the basic full bar and half bar technique, and this is a song that forces you to switch between the chords. I think the switch here is not necessarily all 4 open strings, but it's more of an X. So like, you know, like I talked about at the beginning where I was doing drop baby drop, and in that case you can either do 1 X at the end or you can do 2 X's, and when you are touching all 4 strings, that makes it easy because you got chord, and then if you just kind of let go of the pressure that you're squeezing, then you get the X. And it's also kind of like you do that as you're moving to the chord, or you can put 2 X's in there like this. Let's see what that sounds. Wow. Yeah, 2 X's might be a little much, okay? But you need something. All right, on the A chord, you're kind of moving up to E, and so really only 1 X. Let's see what it sounds like if we do the open strings. Not too bad, so you can do open strings. Open strings works too. Okay, or you can try doing the X. which is an up on an X. Okay. And by the way, the only way to do an upward X is to hold the strings with your left hand like that. There's no like up chucka. Sorry, I said up chuck. Up chucka. It's a down chucka strum like that. Okay. Alright. But there's no reverse of that. So the only way to do that would be with your left hand. Okay. That's the intro and the verse. Okay, very repetitive. And then the chorus, this is kind of difficult. You have to do multiple chords in each measure. So the chorus goes. Okay, I'm doing open strings. I could also do X. So you're going to get really good at switching from B to E to B. Bump, 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 or bump, 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 bump. Actually, I have to say I don't like this chord as much on ukulele. I like it. I mean, if you play guitar, you have to do this chord. Okay, it's kind of like up here though with the bass note. But on ukulele, like trying to get the note underneath that, because like normally when you play it on guitar, you just mute the string underneath. It is hard to get that. So I have to say I prefer this way for ukulele with all 4 fingers. And there's like a break somewhere. You get DSL coda. There's a coda. Okay, so have fun with this one. This is a pretty popular song that a lot of people know, and it features the ukulele. All right. Oh, the intro, before I forget. That is just you hold the strings. The best way to do it would be to do your E chord. Don't press down on it, just hold it, and then you go. X, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 down. You can hear this at the beginning of the song. It's about that speed, but like I said, you can only go as fast as you can go. There's really no point in trying to go faster than that, because you're just going to make a lot of mistakes, and then you kind of learn the mistakes and reinforce them. So the best thing to do is to go slowly, especially if you're trying to switch from chord to chord. Then you need to go at the speed that you're able to make that switch. Okay, so it's kind of hard to count that, but with the accent it makes it a little bit easier, because you do 2 accents, 1 more strum, and then start. Okay, that's all. Gonna give you some fingerstyle things to work on. All right, this is a good follow-up to Let It Be. This is Imagine by John Lennon, and again, this is a piano song, and I've done a ukulele arrangement of the piano part. Okay, so let's go over this. But you know, at this point, you should, if you have a chart and a recording, and you know, maybe if there's a certain technique or something, you have to learn it. But otherwise, you can try to just solve the problems that you have to solve to kind of put the puzzle together and play the song the way it sounds in the recording. Okay, and at a certain point, if you're learning a song and there's no one there to say, oh yeah, this is like you should do it this way, then you have to do that on your own. And you know, at a certain point, you can know kind of what to expect. All right, we've done several different kinds of song. You know, ones that have fingerstyle picking patterns and ones that do strumming. And this one we kind of mix together. All right, just to make it interesting. So. Here we go. Let It Be picking pattern, or Ode to Joy harmony with picking pattern. So you just do the 2-note chords with your fingers like that. Remember what I said, bring your fingers just off the fingerboard, keep your thumb up on top, pull up on the string, kind of like that, not like this way, all right, but this way, all right. So here's our C major 7 chord again that we did with the backing track, and here we're seeing the same chord. It's just a way of kind of making C sound a little bit jazzier, more interesting, okay? And then F. So what I do there is when we did Ode to Joy harmony with picking, we had this. Where we did the alternate picking with your fingers here, and that's what you do here. You go index finger on 0, middle finger on 1, index finger on 2. All right, it's fast, so you need that. Okay, the only other way you could do that, as a, you know, I can present an alternative way. That's kind of what we do at the higher levels, is we have a few different ways, and then you try and figure out which way you like. Is you could do thumb, index finger, thumb. Now I don't like that as much, because when we're picking and doing picking patterns, it's good. I like to have the thumb kind of down here. But you could also do thumb, index, thumb. I like the fingers though, like that. So this is nice because Let It Be, where it's just the chords, and this one has more of a riff to it, right? A riff is like a repeating musical phrase, like a repetitive phrase. Like what's a good example of a ukulele riff? You know, something like this. There's a riff. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. So it's just something that's more than just strumming the chords, that has a little like melodic phrase in there, but that also repeats. Okay, R-I-F-F, riff. All right, so that's the main riff there. You'll hear that twice for the intro and 3 times for the verse, which means that you play it 3 times after the singing begins. Okay, and then you play it again, but without the little 0, 1, 2 riff. The 4th time you play it on the verse, you just stay on F. Which G G7 is just like F sharp 7 that we learned on Hotel California in B minor, except you just move it up 1 fret, okay? So again, let me remind you how to think about this chord, which is helpful in remembering it. Okay, number 1, F. So think of F, and then F7, just like we did on Amazing Grace, where you just add the ring finger note like that, and then you add one more note down here. Okay, here's F, F sharp 7, and G7. Okay, this is a nice chord. All right. I don't think you're gonna find it to be as nice if you just played a regular G7 there. Okay. It doesn't keep going up, you see. All right. Now, this is a part of the song that he sings. So you'll hear him when he gets to that point. You'll hear him go ah, 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 like that, and you just play the riff along with the vocal if you're playing with the John Lennon recording. Okay. The way I like to do it is like position 4, index finger on 7, pinky on 10, and then 5. And slide like that. So we did a slide on Brown Eyed Girl. On that one, it wasn't specific about what note you slide to, but this is what it looks like when it is specific. So it's a specific slide from 5 to 3. Okay. And then you resume the picking pattern, and you keep your finger in the same place. Okay, it sustains over that. So yeah. And then you walk it down C major, and the pattern resumes. Okay, so we're building in some melody. Okay, it goes up and then it comes back down. Okay, going up, and then up higher, and then we're working our way back down. Okay, it's very smooth. All right, that's how I wrote it. This is my arrangement of the accompaniment pattern, but I've added some things in here like the vocal. Why not make it interesting? Okay, you do all that again. That's what it says here. Okay, another verse, and then when you get to the G7 again, you're gonna strum it, and this looks familiar. It looks like our Hotel California strum pattern. Okay. All right, now the piano on the song, you can't strum a piano, so the song doesn't have strumming. This is a thing I've added onto it. That's why I have, of course, as always, I'm giving you an example recording of me playing it on a ukulele. You can also play this over the recording. Okay, it's like we're adding a part. Now, you could, this is the chorus part. Now, what you could do is you could just continue the picking pattern like the piano part in the song does. Okay, so the piano part in the song just goes. There's a little break, a little drum fill, I think. Doom 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 doom, and then you could just go. And just do the picking pattern for the chorus. Okay, but what I'm doing is strumming. So, and this is a strum that has some variation built into it. All right, so like what I talked about before, varying the strum pattern. So this one you can think of as the Knockin' on Heaven's Door strum. It's exactly like that, but it's all the rhythm values are in half. Okay, but you can play it the same way like this. Fake, fake. Those are just quarter notes, so 1 E and 2 E and then here's our Aloha Oi strum. Okay, again, it's just all the rhythm values are in half. Okay, but you can play it the same way. And the fake strum really comes in handy here because we're varying the strum, but we want to keep our hand in motion to count the beats. And if you do that, then it will help you with the timing. Especially for beginners, they need that because otherwise, like, the timing will be like just all over the place, and it can be very messy. It can get very messy. The fake strum is really handy. You do that 3 times, and then you do F, G, Knocking on Heaven's Door strum again, and then there's this little riff. Okay, now on the piano they play it down in the bass. You'll hear this boom, 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 boom. And what I've done is I've just moved it up into the higher, range where you can play it on ukulele. So, but you play the same rhythm and everything. The trick is that instead is on this A3 note, put your middle finger like that, okay, and then you alternate thumb, index finger, thumb, index finger, like this, and then this finger comes over like that, and you just hold this note the whole time. If you play this note with your ring finger like you do in position 1, then when you get to here you have to use your pinky, and it doesn't make much sense to do like all this and like leave out this strong finger. You might as well use the finger, right? And that's the riff, and it goes at the same speed as the, so if you're doing this, then you go same speed, and DS al coda sends you back to the main picking pattern, the main riff, I should say. Here's your DS, and you have this little note. It says repeat 3 times after DS, and yes, you can put little notes in there, okay, if you want. I could just write out the verse and chorus again, but then that would make my chart a 2-page chart instead of a 1-page chart, and I prefer to have it on 1 page. That's why I just make this little note. So the first time you do it, it's just a normal repeat, and the second time, repeat 3 times after DS, okay? And it just lets you know that. So 1, 2, 3 times, this, and then everything repeats, and the second time you go 2 coda from here to here, and that's the end. All right, so the second time you do the chorus, you do not play this riff. It goes F and G and 2 coda. This is a fermata. This little symbol right here, fermata. Some people refer to that as a bird's eye, and it is a pause. It's just a pause. So if you see that in a chart, it means you pause and then you resume the playing. If it's a band thing, then you pause until someone gives the signal that you start playing again. And it's a nice thing to put at the end because it's just, you just pause there and just let it decay and let it hang there. Okay, it's nice. So, and again, you don't have to always spell out coda, C-O-D-A, the bullseye symbol. means coda. If you look at your guide to form directions and symbols, okay, it'll tell you that. So this is a nice follow-up to Let It Be. It just has a little bit more, you know. It has the strumming, it has this little riff here, it has the little vocal, the vocal line for ukulele, and I have another chart where you combine the melody with everything. It's something like. It's more complicated because you just do the melody and everything all together. So it's nice. It's quite nice. This is one of the most beloved songs ever. And in fact, one of the lyrics in this song is "Above us only sky." And if you ever go to the Liverpool airport in England, I think somewhere there, like at the entrance or something, it says "Above us only sky," which is a nice thing to put on an airport. But the Beatles, they're from Liverpool, and John Lennon from there as well, so they pay a little tribute to him there at the airport. There's also a good documentary about the Beatles, and I think that in that documentary they even talk about the recording of this song. It's called "Above Us Only Sky," I believe, and it's about John and Yoko and sort of their life and after the Beatles broke up, and there's some parts about this song in there that are interesting. So there's that John Lennon "Imagine," okay, and then here's another version of "Imagine" that introduces an even more complicated fingerstyle picking pattern, and this is the Jack Johnson "Imagine." Now, I'm here in Hawaii recording this at Honolulu Music Lessons Workshop, and Jack is also from Hawaii, and he's popular here. He surfs and plays guitars and sings really good. So this is the Jack Johnson version of "Imagine." I told you this is a really beloved song, you see, and there's lots of other musicians who do this song as well. Okay, and this is a good one because this is a real fingerstyle picking pattern. Okay, but it's actually simple and repetitive. But the hard thing about it is that it's fast. Okay, so here's how you approach this. The thumb plays the G and the C string, the index finger plays only the E string, and the middle finger plays only the A string. Okay, so let's skip this for now. Let's play B flat major 7. B flat major 7 is if you play a B flat and you take the bar off. So it's just, and you get that open string in there, a nice jazzy B flat chord. Okay, so you see this every time it's going A, E, C, A, E, C, like that. So I think a good thing to do is just get used to that to start. Go middle finger on A, index finger on E, thumb on C, like this, and just do that several times. You can hold your B flat chord or your F chord. I don't really care which. It's all about the right hand here. So A, E, C. Okay, and And actually the pattern, now let's play the pattern starting from here, okay? So this is the G string, okay? Don't let your hand move. Just let your fingers do the work. Don't, do any moving of the hand like, students start bouncing their hand. Don't do that. Ready? Slowly. And then here at the end, you see this 0? That's not a typo. What that means is take these 2 fingers off and leave this one where it is, because we're going to be switching back to the F chord. And that's how you do it. And it's not, I didn't add this onto this is, Jack Johnson plays this on guitar. This is the ukulele version of this. You have to tune, if you want to play it with the Jack Johnson recording, you have to tune your ukulele to G sharp, C sharp, F, A sharp. Okay, E sharp and F are the same note. So you just tune each one up a half step. So if you're looking at your tuner and you got it set to the chromatic mode, remember if it's set to ukulele mode, it won't tune to the next thing. It only tunes to G, C, E, A. So you have to set it to chromatic mode, which is usually a C. Okay, or some tuners are just chromatic, doesn't matter. And then you play it and you watch the needle move up to the next note, and then you tune it to that note. Okay, G sharp, C sharp, F, A sharp, and then it will be in tune. The way he does it on guitar is he capos the 6th fret, which if he was capoing the 5th fret, we wouldn't have to do anything, but he's capoing 6th, so we have to tune it up a half step. Okay. Or there is this thing called a ukulele capo. I don't see it on my desk right now. It's around here somewhere, but it's just a little capo. You could capo 1 and play this, but it's not a big deal just to tune it up to the next step. Okay, ukulele capos I don't really find to be very useful, actually. Not like guitar. So that's the main picking pattern, okay? Now, if you see 2 notes like this together, just pinch them together like this, all right? And that's it. If you follow those simple rules, it doesn't even have as many rules as Ode to Joy Harmony with Picking. That's like a whole classical ukulele arrangement. This is just a pop song, and it's very nice. Okay, so here let's walk our way through the intro. I'm pretty sure he plays that twice, so I might add a repeat sign here, because I am pretty sure that if I'm not mistaken, that he plays the intro twice before you go on to the verse. All right, so I'll check the recording, and then if you see that your chart has a repeat sign here, then that means I've added it on. Okay, let me zoom in. All right, so we start on the E string, okay, and we go this note with our pinky finger. Now, once you've added it, hold it there until you get to the open string there, okay? Because we want to add it and then we want to hear it ring, okay? So, if you go to the second half of that pattern, add it, we're taking all the fingers off because these are all open strings, and then we do B flat. Pinch the notes together. So I'm gonna pinch. This is the pinch, the thumb and the index finger, like that. So. And the reason why we need to do that is because after I pinch this note together, I need to quickly play this next note with the middle finger. So it's not going to work to do it this way. So you pinch and then play a note with your middle finger. That wasn't very good. Okay, and then the next one, ready? We're in B flat major, which is you're lucky because it's not B flat, right? You get a break, don't have to play a bar chord there. Okay, it's all about the right hand picking pattern now. And it's a nice sounding chord. You got B flat major 7. This, when we add this note, by the way, to F, we get an F major 7. Which is just like, you know, on the other Imagine, it goes C and then C major 7, and then this is F and then F major 7. And it follows a similar, and then he makes this all major 7. And then remember, take these 2 fingers off. That's what he does on the guitar, and I do the same thing for ukulele. And here we have a hammer on, so pinch. Okay, that actually helps you to switch to F, because when you hammer that on, voila, I'm on F. Okay, so that's the hammer on, pinch, and then the B flat chord. Again, just go real slow on this, so we can play this measure again. Really slowly. Off. Except that note. You don't want that to come off because you need it. Alright. And that goes 3 times. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3 ending and 4th ending, which means that we play that 4 times, once, twice, 3 times, and then the 4th time we skip this and we play this instead. Okay, the only difference between this measure and this measure is that these fingers do not come off here because the B flat chord continues. Alright, that's the only reason why we need an ending there. Okay, so let's continue it. Ready? Slowly. And more B flat. F. Take all your fingers off there at the end with that F chord, because G minor is, we're not gonna have too many notes. Alright, so here we have G minor. You should know that chord from Hotel California. Ready? And then here's another little G minor-ish chord, which goes like this, 5, 3, 5, which you can do. I usually just do that kind of like G7, and you slide it up. Yeah, 5, 3, 5. This C chord that has both 3s like that, you can do, that's how I do it, or you can do it like that. I'm not sure if there's any benefit to playing a bar there. Probably not. You go G minor. there. And then the chorus, oh, gotta play your half bar chord. Most songs have at least one bar chord, I would say. You're not gonna get very far. Now, you'll notice, again, the open string at the end of that. And, you know, if the next chord doesn't share any of the same notes, then you're probably going to take all your fingers off the strings. Okay, if it does share some notes, then you'll take some of the fingers off. Okay, that's not a typo. It's there for a reason. That's how you switch. So you're another open string there at the end. This thing is bothering me. It's in the way. I don't know how to move it right now. I'm not going to bother with it. Same thing. C ends with an open string. F ends with an open string. A ends with an open string. And then there's actually two open strings here at the end. And that's also not a typo. That's from the Jack Johnson recording. He plays a kind of a passing tone there. So you get like that. You do that 3 times. DS, so 3 times and then continue. This, you'll see this sometimes, okay, it's DS1, that means you do the DS and you do all of that again, following all the endings and repeats, and then you get back here again and DS2, so you do it again, DS2, al coda, so that means this time we do the DS, you do everything again, except this time we take the coda. So you'll see the 2 coda here, and it's just like the other Imagine. The 2 coda sends you to the end, and Jack plays a funny chord there called F add 9. It's actually F sharp add 9 when we change the tuning, but we don't change the chord symbols. So okay, so DS1 you do it once, DS2 you do it again, and the DS2 is the al coda. That's when you take the coda at the end. All right, which is nice because, you know, if I put a repeat sign here, it's gonna send me back to the chorus. I don't want to go back to the chorus. Okay, I want to go back to the segno. Okay, back to the verse, and I'm gonna do it twice, and then finally take the coda at the end. So the end, B flat, C, and 2 coda. All right, and I think the last time I was playing the chorus, I was bringing it up to full speed because that's how. That's a good, okay, this is a good example of why all of those rules and techniques and things, this isn't like meant to so that I can torture people by telling them what to do and being a dictator about it, but it's to ensure that, you know, something like this, you're gonna spend a long time practicing this, and at the end you want to have a good result. And if there's a flaw in your technique, or you're not doing the picking pattern right, or you're kind of trying to do it your own way with mixed results, who knows? But, you know, if you're doing it right, you're pulling up on the string, you're not crossing your thumb under your finger, you got it in the right place, you're not moving your hand, you're letting your fingers do the work, and you you have all those things in place, then it's going to sound nice, it's going to sound smooth, and it's going to sound like something that people want to hear like this. And I have to say, this is an incredibly popular style of playing with the finger style picking patterns. And it makes for nice listening too. Okay, so we did a little review. All right, make sure you hold it correctly. All right, with your right hand, with your left hand. You practice your scales, you memorize them. There's lots of things you can do with those. You can do the alternating pattern. Each time you change it up, you're kind of like reprogramming a little bit. It's gonna, challenge you and keep you challenged. And every time you do that, though, like, you get to know the scale better and better and better, and develop more control. And also, it's more musical, isn't it? To change direction like that, right? So it makes it more and more musical, and gets it starts to become more like something melodic that you want to hear and that you can use for improvisation. Okay, practice scales and improvisation. You can do the alternate picking. Eighth notes with the backing track is what we're working towards now. Not necessarily at full speed. Okay, first thumb, alternating thumb and index finger, and then index finger and middle finger. Okay, and that's all for the course, and I hope you find some enjoyment with this, and thank you very much for participating, and mahalo.